Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. Ethan Cole, captain of Earth's Recon Corps, stood on the observation deck of Galaxy Haven, a sprawling space station floating amidst the glittering debris of an asteroid belt. His battered pilot's coat, scarred from a dozen missions, clung to his wiry, battle-hardened frame, muscles taut beneath faded fabric. Steel blue eyes scanned the reinforced viewport, where stars burned cold against the infinite black, their light fracturing through the faint haze of a distant nebula. The neural implant, cutting-edge military tech etched into his temple, hummed faintly, feeding him data on the station's ship traffic. 5 years commanding a recon unit, facing down the Vexar, those grotesque machine-organic hybrids, had carved scars both visible and unseen, leaving a bone-deep weariness that no synthetic coffee could cure. 10 hours, he muttered, glancing at his wrist chrono, voice rough as gravel. 10 hours until the freighter arrived to take him back to Earth, to a dream of discharge, a life free from the roar of war. Galaxy Haven pulsed with chaotic life, a cosmic forge of commerce and shadows. Merchants bellowed in guttural, alien tongues, drones buzzed overhead, and neon signs cast garish glows on faces from every corner of the galaxy. This was neutral ground, where real names and pasts didn't matter, and Ethan relished that. After years dodging Vexar warships and navigating the razor's edge of interstellar politics, he wanted to vanish into the crowd, just another ghost drifting toward peace. But the universe, as always, had other plans. He wove through the bazaar, heavy boots clanging on metal floors, eyes flicking across stalls piled with exotic wares, glowing vials, rune-carved blades, tech he couldn't name. At one corner, the scent of scorched metal and alien spices halted him. A small stall stood there, run by a furred merchant with yellowed eyes glinting like a predator's. He displayed faintly glowing crystals. "Memory stones," the old creature rasped, voice dry as desert sand. "Touch one, and the past lives again, sharp as truth." Ethan smirked, ready to walk away, another con in a station full of them. But the largest stone, pulsing like a caged flame, vibrated faintly. His implant sparked, picking up an untraceable signal, a needle prick in his mind. He touched the stone, just for a second, and his mind detonated. Flashes of an old battle roared through him, plasma smoke choking the air, squad mates falling under Vexar fire, the scream of tearing steel. A voice, faint but razor-sharp, echoed, "Don't let them take it." Ethan yanked his hand back, sweat beading on his brow, breath ragged. The merchant cackled, jagged teeth bared. "See something good, warrior?" Ethan clenched his fist, ready to snap back, but his implant buzzed hard, warning of an unseen threat. A chill swept through the bazaar, and his battlefield instincts kicked in. He scanned the chaotic crowd, gaze cutting like a blade. Nothing obvious, just merchants, smugglers, and bizarre creatures jostling for space. But his implant kept sparking, its signals scrambled, as if someone was probing his mind. He stepped back, hand brushing the pulse pistol at his hip, the weight of danger clinging to him. At the bazaar's edge, a figure flickered, an ash-gray cloak, face hidden under a hood, but their eyes locked onto his, cold and knowing, like they'd marked him years ago. They vanished before he could react, leaving a gnawing unease. Ethan forced himself forward, shaking off the hunted feeling. He paused in a shadowed corner where a maintenance corridor snaked downward. A squat, gray-skinned engineer fixing a drone glanced up. "Lost, warrior?" he grunted through a gas mask. Ethan shook his head, but his implant buzzed again, a coded signal from his last mission. A memory flashed, a Vexar bunker, green light pulsing from an energy core, his last squad mate, Janna, screaming, "Your implant's the key!" The image dissolved, leaving his heart pounding. He cursed under his breath, refocusing. Galaxy Haven wasn't a place to drop your guard. Back in the bazaar, the neon glare stung his eyes, the cacophony, shouts, machinery, footsteps, hammering his ears. But through it all, he felt a sharp, electric presence, like a stare boring into him. He looked up and saw her. From a hovering balcony, Veyra Klyne watched him, emerald eyes gleaming under artificial light. Her bronze skin shimmered like molten metal, 3 luminous streaks tracing her cheekbones, a mark of the Sylthar Dominion's elite, a secretive empire of psychic tech and brutal caste systems. Her ceremonial silk robes, threaded with star-like filaments, flowed with each step, radiating authority and defiance. Him? Veyra asked, voice low, carrying an otherworldly resonance. Correct, replied Terran, her aide, her own bronze skin etched with geometric patterns, eyes as cold as her mistress. Captain Ethan Cole, Earth Recon Corps. Decorated, no clan ties, no diplomatic baggage. Perfect candidate. Veyra's lips curved, sharp as a blade. Perfect for what I need. She touched her wristband, its core glowing like a trapped ember. Her father, High Priest Klyne, had ordered her betrothal to a rival clan's son to shore up crumbling trade routes. But Veyra wasn't a pawn for anyone's game. A human, she murmured, voice laced with calculation. Unpredictable, untraceable, unbound by our laws. He'll shatter everything. Below, Ethan felt her gaze, though he couldn't pinpoint it. His implant sparked again, detecting a sophisticated scan, not Vexar, but something alien. He clenched his jaw, hand grazing his pistol, instincts screaming that the peace he craved was slipping away. The universe had picked him, and it never played fair. Ethan sensed it before he saw it, a cold jolt down his spine, like static before a storm. His neural implant flared, warning of an unidentified skin, sharp as an invisible blade. His hand drifted to the pulse pistol at his hip, thumb brushing the grip, ready. 5 years on the front lines against the Vexar had honed his instincts into something that never slept. He scanned the Galaxy Haven bazaar, eyes slicing through the chaos, merchants shouting, drones humming, neon lights glaring off alien faces. Then he locked onto her. Emerald eyes from the balcony above, unflinching, pinning him in place. For a split second, the station's noise faded, leaving only that gaze, cold, curious, and hungry in a way he couldn't name. Trouble, he thought, jaw tightening, muscles coiling under his worn pilot's coat. But before he could turn away, a group of strangers pushed through the crowd, gray cloaks billowing, eyes sharp as daggers. Their leader, tall with a scar slashing across his face, tapped a device on his wrist. Ethan's implant screamed, detecting a sophisticated hack attempt, like someone drilling into his brain. He stepped back, hand gripping his pistol, pulse steady but icy. "Who's tracking me?" he growled under his breath. The group melted into the crowd like ghosts, leaving a lingering dread. He scanned again, but saw only nameless faces, no answers. The woman from the balcony, Veyra Klyne, descended, her movements fluid as water over stone. Her ceremonial silk clung to her, shimmering with metallic threads, flowing like a comet's tail, her bronze skin glowing under the lights. The crowd parted, sensing her authority, though none dared linger on her gaze. "Captain Cole," she said, voice smooth, laced with the musical cadence of Sylthar speech, but edged like a blade. "I've been looking for you." Ethan kept his hand near his pistol, eyes never leaving her. "Don't know you, don't want to," he said, voice flat. "Whatever you're selling, I'm not buying." He turned to leave, but her next words stopped him like a gunshot. "Even a first-class ticket off this station tonight? No questions asked?" He froze, turning back. A first-class ship could cut his trip to Earth from weeks to days, sparing him the cramped, reeking freighter holds. But in this universe, nothing came free, especially from someone like her, with calculating eyes and polished poise that screamed danger. "What's the catch?" he asked, voice even, though his implant flickered, analyzing her every twitch. Veyra smiled, a cold curve that didn't reach her eyes. "A conversation," she said. "Escort me to my private suite, share a drink. If you don't like what I say, you walk away with the ship code." Ethan studied her, implant parsing her expression, her pulse steady, no signs of stress, but something deeper, buried tight. Desperation? Ambition? She was good, too good at hiding it. His instincts screamed trouble, but a fast track off this rock was too tempting to ignore. "One drink," he said, voice hard. "Keep your hands where I can see them." Veyra led him through the bazaar, her steps light but deliberate, like a predator on familiar ground. Ethan followed, eyes scanning every angle, exits, threats, any sign of the gray-cloaked group. Once, he glimpsed a shadow behind a stall, but when he looked again, it was gone, swallowed by neon. His implant buzzed faintly, picking up another scan, weaker but persistent, making his fist clench. They entered a lift, its transparent walls framing the asteroid belt's jagged beauty. Veyra stood still, her silk glimmering faintly, but said nothing, only glancing at him sidelong. "Overly cautious, Captain?" she asked, voice tinged with mockery. "Survivors always are," Ethan shot back, voice dry. The lift stopped, opening to a corridor of polished black stone, leading to her private suite. The room was a world apart from the station's grit. Obsidian walls gleamed, reflecting soft light from a floating orb. A massive viewport showcased the asteroid belt's rugged splendor, rocks spinning slowly in the void. On a table, an amber decanter glowed like molten gold, 2 crystal glasses waiting. Veyra gestured for Terran to leave, the door sliding shut, leaving them in heavy silence. "Nice place," Ethan said, voice flat, eyes sweeping for exits, hidden cameras, anything off. He didn't sit, weight shifted to his back foot, ready to move. Veyra poured the liquor, sliding a glass toward him, her movements slow, deliberate. "You're careful," she said, emerald eyes glinting. "Good. You'll need that." "Cut to it," Ethan snapped, ignoring the glass. "What do you want?" Veyra leaned against the table, silk shifting like liquid starlight. "Freedom, Captain," she said, voice dropping low. "For both of us. My people are chained by a system that prizes obedience over progress. I'm being forced to marry a man I despise to prop up my father's alliances. I'd rather burn that system to ash." Ethan raised an eyebrow, voice cold. "Sounds like your problem." "It's ours now," Veyra said, eyes sharp as blades. She touched her wristband, its core flaring like a trapped ember. "The Mind Pact, a Sylthar ritual. It binds 2 minds, creating a bond my people deem unbreakable. I want to perform it with you." Ethan barked a laugh, short and sharp, echoing in the silent room. "You're out of your mind," he said. "I'm not signing up to be soulmates with an alien." "Not love," Veyra said, voice urgent but controlled. "Power. A human, unbound by our caste, will upend my father's plans. You'll get a ship, tech credits, everything you need to start over. I get a partner who can't be bought or controlled. When the dust settles, we both walk free." His implant buzzed, noting his rising pulse, but he kept his voice steady. The offer was insane, but it hit his weak spot. Years of fighting had left him with skills, scars, and a useless discharge slip. But he didn't trust her, didn't trust anyone in this damn universe. "If I say no?" he asked, eyes locked on hers. Veyra's face hardened for a split second before she answered. "I'd prefer you agree willingly." But before he could respond, she pressed a hidden switch on her wristband. An invisible wave of energy flooded the room, like gravity doubling, crushing his chest. His implant screamed, vision blurring, limbs growing heavy. He reached for his pistol, but his fingers wouldn't obey, stuck in molasses. "What are you doing?" he growled, voice distorted, fighting the dizziness. Veyra stepped closer, her wristband blazing, its light casting fire in her eyes. "The pact doesn't need consent," she said, voice low but sharp. "Only compatibility. And you, Captain, are more compatible than you know." She pressed the wristband to his temple, and a surge tore through his mind. For a moment, his consciousness expanded, touching hers, sharp, radiant, a mix of rebellion and fear. Images flashed, a Sylthar palace, cold stone corridors, an old voice issuing commands. Then it vanished, leaving a strange warmth in his chest, like a second heartbeat, not his own. Ethan stumbled back, implant recalibrating, struggling to stabilize. A faint silver mark flickered on his temple, pulsing in sync with the streaks on Veyra's face. "You bastard!" he spat, hand trembling as it found his pistol. He aimed at her chest, finger on the trigger, but the warmth in his chest pulsed hard, carrying a flicker of her emotions, regret, resolve, and something deeper he refused to name. "It's done," Veyra said, raising her hands, voice calm but heavy with fate. "We're bound by Sylthar law. Run, and my father's hunters will chase us both. Together, we can rewrite the rules." Ethan lowered the pistol, not because he trusted her, but because he felt it, the first tremor of her mind touching his, a challenge, a promise, and a curse. The door vibrated faintly, as if someone approached, and his implant flashed red, warning of danger. He knew there was no going back. Ethan lowered his pistol, not because he trusted Veyra, but because he felt it, the first pulse of her mind through the link, a sharp challenge laced with a dangerous promise. The warmth in his chest, like a second heartbeat, throbbed, staying his hand. But before he could speak, a deafening explosion rocked the corridor. The obsidian door shuddered, his neural implant flashing red, alerting him to an armed squad closing fast. He snapped into combat stance, muscles taut, eyes razor-sharp. "Your father's hunters?" he asked, voice icy, hand sliding to his pulse pistol. Veyra shook her head, emerald eyes widening, a flicker of shock. "Impossible," she said, but her voice wavered. Through the mind link, Ethan felt her fear, not of capture, but of something darker, like a shadow waiting to swallow her whole. "They wouldn't find me this fast." He smirked, ready to retort, but a hidden wall screen flared to life, casting cold blue light across the room. A man's image appeared, silver skin gleaming like metal, eyes red as Vexar energy cores. Rhydan Voss. "Veyra!" he roared, voice like thunder, shaking the air. "Return what's mine, or this station burns to ash." The scream died, but the threat hung heavy, like lead. Through the link, Ethan felt a wave of panic from Veyra, icy, as if she knew Voss wanted more than just her. "Who'd you piss off?" Ethan growled, but before Veyra could answer, the door exploded inward, metal shards flying. 5 figures in gray battle armor charged in, weapons glowing with deadly blue energy. Not Sylthar hunters, Ethan realized, implant boosting his reflexes as he dove behind a table, dodging a plasma bolt that seared the air. These were Clyro's mercenaries, ruthless killers who'd slaughter for a handful of credits. "Who hired you?" he shouted, firing a pulse round, the shot punching through one merc's armor, dropping him hard. Veyra drew an energy sword from her belt, its blade igniting like blue fire, slashing through the air. "Not my father!" she yelled, slicing down a Clyros, her movements swift as a blade's edge. "They're Voss's men, the bastard I was supposed to marry!" Ethan dropped another merc, his implant calculating perfect firing angles. "Guess he doesn't take rejection well." Through the link, he caught a flash from Veyra, a blurred image of Voss, silver-skinned, eyes cruel, standing in a floating fortress surrounded by shattered ships. He didn't just want Veyra for an alliance. He was after a secret she held, something worth torching a station for. They moved in sync, eerie but instinctive, as if the link guided their steps. Ethan sensed Veyra's intent before she acted, a sword swing, a sidestep, and she knew exactly when he'd fire. A Clyros lunged, energy dagger blazing, but Ethan dodged, slamming his boot into the merc's chest, sending him crashing into a wall. Veyra cut down the last one, her sword extinguishing, leaving the stink of charred metal. But the station's alarms wailed, red lights pulsing like blood. "Time to move," Ethan said, grabbing Veyra's arm, pulling her toward an emergency exit in the room's corner. She didn't resist, but through the link, he felt a storm of emotions, his anger, her panic, and a strange, undeniable pull, like a spark igniting in a void. They sprinted down a narrow corridor, metal floors shaking under their boots. Red lights flashed, sirens blaring, and the heavy tread of pursuers echoed behind. Ethan's eyes darted, implant analyzing old station maps. "West Auxiliary Docks," he said, voice hard. "Got a plan, or are you just dragging me into hell?" Veyra's breath came in gasps, but her eyes stayed sharp. "I have a ship," she said. "But we need to reach it before Voss locks down the station." They ducked behind a maintenance panel, the sound of boots growing closer. Ethan gripped his pistol, turning to her. "What else are you hiding?" he demanded, voice low but cutting. Voss wants more than you. Veyra hesitated, her breath trembling. The wristband, she said, touching the device on her arm, its core glowing like a dying star. It's not just for the Pact. It holds the key to an ancient Sylthar archive, tech, weapons, secrets that could reshape the galaxy. Voss will kill for it. Ethan froze, anger flaring. You dragged me into a damn treasure hunt? He aimed his pistol at her, finger twitching, but his implant buzzed hard, detecting a locator pulse from her wristband, a beacon drawing their enemies. You sold me out? He roared, eyes blazing. No! Veyra shouted, eyes wide, desperate. I didn't know. Someone tampered with it. Through the link, he felt her sincerity, like a cold wind clearing his doubt. But trust didn't come easy, and the booths behind them were suffocatingly close. They burst from cover, racing down the corridor, red light bathing Veyra's tense face. A Clyro's squad appeared at a junction, weapons glowing. Ethan fired, dropping two, while Veyra parried an energy dagger, sparks flying. The link hummed stronger, like a taut wire, sharing thoughts and reflexes at dizzying speed. Ethan caught a fleeting memory from Veyra, training on a Sylthar desert, sword in hand under a crimson sky, her mother's voice whispering, "Never surrender." The memory faded, but it left a spark of respect in him. They broke through, diving into a technical bay, the air thick with oil and scorched metal. An old control screen flickered, showing the station's layout, but before Ethan could study it, a figure appeared at the bay's entrance, not Clyros, but a Sylthar warrior, brown-skinned, eyes violet and cold. "Veyra Klyne," she said, voice like a winter gale. "You owe me, and I'm here to collect." Veyra stiffened, gripping her sword. "Sylra," she whispered, voice laced with shock and strain. Through the link, Ethan saw another memory. Sylra, Veyra's old friend, cast out by their clan for defying its laws, now a mercenary. "What are you doing here?" "Voss pays well," Sylra said, drawing a silver pistol. "But I'm not here for him. Hand over the wristband, or die." Ethan aimed at Sylra, implant analyzing, her pulse steady, but her eyes flickered, hiding something. "Nobody's taking anything," he said, voice cold. "Walk away, or you're done." Sylra smirked, but before she could act, the alarms shifted pitch, signaling warships approaching the station. "Voss," Veyra whispered, eyes widening. "He wasn't bluffing about burning this place." Ethan grabbed Veyra, pulling her through a side exit, leaving Sylra in the dark. The link pulsed, carrying a tangle of emotions, anger, fear, and a fragile bond growing tighter. They raced toward the docks, but Ethan knew this chase was only the beginning. No time for talk. The thunder of Clyro's boots echoed closer, each second tightening the noose. Ethan dragged Veyra through the technical bay, red alarm lights painting her face in stark relief, cold, tense, but unyielding. They dove into a small shuttle in the maintenance dock, the hatch slamming shut as plasma bolts scorched the air behind. Veyra leaped into the pilot's seat, fingers dancing over the controls with lethal precision. Ethan threw himself into the co-pilot's chair, pistol still clutched, eyes locked on the rear viewport. "You sure you can fly this thing?" he barked, firing a pulse round through a gap, dropping a Clyro's merc who just appeared. "Enough to keep us alive." Veyra shot back, eyes glued to the console. She slammed a button, engines roaring to life, and the shuttle blasted out of the station, inertia pinning them to their seats. Through the viewport, Galaxy Haven shrank fast, its neon glow fading into the void. But red streaks of pursuing missiles flared in their wake, tearing through space. Veyra yanked the controls, dodging the barrage with a precision that made Ethan's jaw clench in grudging respect. Through the mind link, he caught a flash of her memory, training on a Sylthar sky, crimson winds howling, her instructor's voice roaring, "Faster or die!" He didn't just see it, he felt her skill, as if her reflexes bled into his own. The shuttle plunged into the asteroid belt, massive rocks spinning lazily in the dark, glinting under faint light from a distant nebula. Veyra wove through the debris, hands steady, but the pursuing Clyro's warship, small but bristling with glowing weapons, hounded them like a predator. Ethan gripped his pistol, implant analyzing radar data. They've got heavier firepower, he said, voice flat. Got a plan besides running? Don't lecture me on my job. Veyra snapped, but through the link, he felt a flicker of strain, not fear, but the weight of a cornered fighter. She banked the shuttle, skimming past the shattered asteroid, debris rattling against the hull like hail. Then, a strange signal chimed from the console, sharp as a bell in the dark. The screen flickered, displaying an ancient symbol, a double spiral, coiling like twin serpents, identical to the silver mark on Ethan's temple. Veyra froze, breath catching. It can't be, she whispered, voice trembling. That's Mother's sign. Through the link, Ethan was pulled into a memory, a Sylthar woman, eerily like Veyra, standing before a blazing portal, 3 streaks on her cheeks glowing. She whispered, voice sharp. The Keeper stirs. Don't let it fall to him. The image dissolved, but the air in the shuttle grew heavy, as if the memory carried a curse. Ethan stared at her, jaw tight. What do you know about that symbol? I'm not sure, she said, voice low, eyes fixed on the screen. But it's no coincidence. The signal faded, leaving a tense silence, broken only by the hum of the engines. Another plasma bolt grazed them, shaking the hull. Veyra swerved, diving through a narrow gap between 2 asteroids, rock fragments pelting the shuttle like a storm. Ethan watched her, grudgingly impressed. She flew like she was born in the void, every move precise despite the pressure. But his implant buzzed, picking up a new signal, stronger, colder, bearing the Sylthar Dominion signature. Your father's joined the party, he said, voice dry, pointing to the radar. A massive silver warship loomed at the belt's edge. Veyra's grip on the controls tightened, veins bulging on her hands. If he catches me, she said, voice taut as a wire, the pact's undone. We both die. Through the link, Ethan felt her fear, not of death, but of failure, of losing the last trace of her mother's legacy. An explosion rocked the shuttle, alarms blaring. Auxiliary engines fried, Veyra shouted, the console flashing red. She scanned the radar, then pointed to an asteroid ahead, its shadow hiding an old structure. Abandoned mining outpost, she said. We've got to land. You're kidding, Ethan growled, but another plasma bolt made the choice clear. Veyra didn't answer, diving the shuttle toward the asteroid's surface, dust and rocks spraying as they skidded to a stop before a rusted steel outpost, its entrance barely visible in the dark. They leaped out, sprinting inside, breaths ragged. Outside, the hum of Clyro's engines grew louder, red lights sweeping closer. Inside, the air was frigid, reeking of metal and dust. Ethan scanned the area, implant confirming no life signs, just scattered mining gear littering the floor. The link between them pulsed stronger, like a cable stretched tight. Ethan felt another of Veyra's memories, a ritual like the Pact, her mother standing in a stone chamber, eyes pained. Don't let your father win, she whispered before light consumed her. The memory faded, leaving Veyra trembling, her eyes betraying vulnerability for the first time. I didn't want this for you, she whispered, voice hoarse, touching her wristband. I didn't want to drag you in. But I had no choice. Ethan met her gaze, anger smoldering, but through the link, he felt her truth, not manipulation, but desperation. Choice? He said, voice rough. Now we've got none but survival. He checked his pistol, eyes on the entrance. If Voss or your father come, they'll have to go through me. The darkness outside stirred, Clyro's lights sweeping the outpost's door. But then, another explosion echoed, not from the ships, but from deeper in the belt, like a collision. Ethan peered through a crack, spotting a green flash, neither Sylthar nor Clyro's. What the hell now? He muttered, implant buzzing, warning of an ancient signal, like the spiral symbol from before. Veyra stood beside him, sword gripped tight. It's not just Voss hunting us, she said, voice low. Something else is out there. Through the link, Ethan felt her new fear, and for the first time, they both realized. They weren't just running from enemies, but from a secret waking in the dark. The outpost's darkness was a cold vice, broken only by the faint hiss of dust through rusted seams. Ethan clutched his pistol, eyes locked on the entrance where Clyro's lights faded, retreating for now. Veyra stood close, energy sword ready, its blue glow casting sharp shadows on her face, tense but resolute. The mind link hummed, a taut wire weaving their emotions, his fury, her unease, and a fragile bond growing harder to ignore. He opened his mouth to ask about the green flash outside, but a voice cut through the shadows, sharp as a blade. "So, Klyne, you've dragged a human into this mess?" A figure stepped from the dark, boots clanging on metal. Dim emergency lights revealed a gaunt, familiar face, Jackson Reed, Ethan's old squadmate. His dirty blonde hair was matted, gray eyes clouded, but that crooked smirk was the same from their Vexar fighting days. Now mercenary armor hugged his frame, a silver weapon glinting at his hip. Jackson wasn't the man Ethan knew. Ethan stiffened, pistol snapping to Jackson's chest, implant analyzing. "Jackson," he said, voice low, lethal. "What are you doing here?" Jackson raised his hands, signaling no threat, but his eyes flicked to Veyra, cold and calculating. "Tracking her," he said, voice dry. "And what she's carrying. But seeing you here, Cole? That's a surprise." He grinned, but through the link, Ethan felt Veyra's unease, like she saw something he didn't. "Who are you working for?" Ethan demanded, not lowering his weapon. "Voss? Her father?" Jackson shook his head, stepping closer, light catching a fresh scar on his cheek. "Not quite," he said. "A different outfit. They don't care about Sylthar politics or alliances. They want the archive she's got, something to topple both the Dominion and the Vexar. I'm here to make sure they get it." Veyra tightened her grip on her sword, eyes blazing. "You don't know what you're meddling with," she said, voice low, like a storm brewing. "The archive isn't some trinket to steal." But as Jackson spoke, a small object slipped from his pocket, rolling across the floor, glowing faintly like a dying ember. Ethan recognized it instantly, a Vexar core, used to enslave minds seen in enemy labs. His implant screamed, and through the link, a memory from Jackson flashed, captured 2 years ago, strapped to a metal slab, a core injected into his neck, his eyes dimming as a mechanical voice commanded. Ethan's voice dropped, anger mixed with pity. "You're being controlled." Jackson frowned, touching his pocket, then laughed harshly. "Don't play Saint Cole. I chose this." He stepped forward, voice lowering. "Hand over the wristband, I'll break it. You both walk free from this pact. Freedom, like you wanted." But through the link, Ethan sensed a darker truth. Jackson wasn't fully Jackson. A hidden implant under his hair pulsed with Vexar signals, a puppet on strings. "You're not Jackson," Ethan growled, pistol steady. "The Vexar took you." Jackson's laugh was loud, but his eyes flickered, like an internal struggle. "Still stubborn," he said, raising a hand. A squad of black-armored MiGs emerged from the shadows, weapons glowing. "Take the wristband, or die." The outpost erupted into chaos. Ethan dove behind a metal crate, firing pulse rounds, each shot tearing through a merc's armor. Veyra charged, her sword a blue inferno, slicing a rifle in half, her movements fluid as a dancer's. The link hit its peak, fusing them into one unit. Ethan felt every swing of her blade, she anticipated his shots. A merc lunged, energy knife blazing, but Ethan sidestepped, driving a fist into his chest, implant boosting the blow's force. But Jackson activated his implant, unleashing an invisible psychic wave, like a drill in Ethan's skull. He dropped to a knee, vision blurring, old war memories flooding, plasma smoke, fallen squadmates, Jackson's voice screaming. "Don't leave me!" Ethan roared, fighting it, but the wave was relentless, dragging him into darkness. Veyra's hand gripped his shoulder, cold but steady. "Don't let him win!" she shouted, and through the link her will surge, not just resolve, but unshakable faith in him. She sent an image, both of them on a Sylthar desert, red light blazing around them, invincible. The link's strength yanked Ethan back, vision clearing. He stood, firing a round that grazed Jackson's shoulder, forcing him back. They fought as one, Ethan and Veyra, like twin blades. Veyra felled a merc, spinning to dodge a shot, while Ethan's precise fire dropped the last. Jackson charged, energy knife glowing, but Ethan blocked, slamming a fist into his chest, sending him sprawling. He aimed at Jackson's head, finger on the trigger, but through the link, Veyra's pain hit, not for Jackson, but fear Ethan would lose himself. "You're still in there, aren't you?" Ethan said, voice raw, lowering the pistol. "I'm not killing you." "Not today!" Jackson gasped, eyes clouded, silent, as if the Vexar core fought within him. Veyra stepped forward, sword still ready. "We need to go," she said, voice low. "Voss won't stop." But before they moved, Ethan's implant buzzed, pulling up an old coded message from Jackson, sent before his capture. An image flashed, Jackson in a Vexar bunker, whispering into a recorder. "Cole, if I'm gone, protect the archive. It's not just a weapon. It's the key to everything." The signal died, leaving Ethan stunned. "What did you know about this archive?" he asked Veyra, eyes hard. She met his gaze, hesitating. "Only that my mother died for it," she said, voice trembling. Through the link, Ethan felt her grief, and for the first time, he wondered if he was fighting not just for freedom, but for something bigger. The outpost's shadows receded as Ethan and Veyra sprinted from the rusted structure, breaths ragged in the freezing air. After Jackson's collapse, his haunted eyes lingered in Ethan's mind, but there was no time for regret. Clyro's engines roared outside, red lights sweeping the outpost. "They're here," Veyra whispered, sword gripped tight, eyes blazing with resolve. Ethan scanned the radar via his implant, spotting a gap in the pursuit, a slim chance. "Shuttles in the rear bay," he said, voice flat. They raced through crumbling corridors, dodging debris, and climbed aboard before the Clyros could lock them down. Veyra fired up the engines, hands steady, while Ethan unleashed a pulse barrage through the rear viewport, blasting a pursuing drone to scraps. The shuttle launched, weaving through the asteroid belt, but Jackson's words, "Protect the archive," echoed in Ethan's head like a curse. The shuttle streaked through the belt, nebula light glinting off its scarred hull. Veyra held the controls, eyes sharp, lips pressed tight with tension. Ethan wanted to press her about the archive, about Jackson, but his implant screamed, detecting a new signal, not Clyros, not Voss, but a colossal silver warship bearing the Sylthar Dominion's mark. "Your father," he said, voice low, nodding to the radar. "He's here." Veyra's knuckles whitened on the controls. "If he's here," she whispered, "we're running out of time." Before she could say more, a coded transmission flashed on the shuttle's screen, a deep voice cutting through. "Veyra Klyne, surrender the shuttle now. This is High Priest Klyne." Through the link, Ethan felt a surge from her, rage, fear, and a deep, searing pain, like a wound torn open. The Sylthar warship loomed ahead, massive enough to blot out the nebula's glow. A targeting beam locked onto the shuttle, but no shots came. Instead, the screen flickered, revealing High Priest Klyne, bronze skin gleaming, 3 streaks on his cheeks like Veyra's, but eyes hard as steel. "I'm not here to take you," he said, voice resonating through the speakers. "But the archive you carry, it's more dangerous than you know. Its ancient weapons could erase the galaxy if misused. I was wrong to force you, Veyra, but you and this human are the only hope to stop Rhydan Voss." Ethan frowned, glancing at Veyra. "He telling the truth?" he asked, voice low. Through the link, he felt her doubt, but also a faint spark of hope, as if she wanted to believe her father, just once. "He never tells the full truth," Veyra said, voice rough, but she didn't cut the link. "But if Voss gets the archive, no one's safe." She looked at Ethan, emerald eyes glinting. "I need you to trust me, just this once." Before Ethan could answer, his implant surged, like it was triggered from within. A coded signal flashed, not from the Sylthar ship, but from his own device. A familiar, crackling voice echoed in his mind. "Cole, if you hear this, you're the last one. Protect the code. The Vexar can have it." It was Colonel Harrow, his commander, dead 2 years in a Vexar ambush. An image flashed, Harrow, bloodied, uploading data to Ethan's implant before collapsing. Ethan's hand shook, stunned. His implant wasn't just military tech, It held a secret, an anti-Vexar project, and he'd been a target all along. He turned to Veyra, anger flaring. "What do you know about my implant?" he roared, voice tight with restraint. Through the link, a memory of his own surfaced, a Vexar bunker, green light pulsing, an Earth tech whispering. "Your implant's experimental. Mind linking, built from stolen Sylthar tech?" The memory dissolved, but the truth cut like a knife. "You didn't pick me by chance, did you?" Veyra avoided his eyes, gripping the controls. "I studied you," she admitted, voice barely audible. "Your implant made you more compatible than anyone for the Pact. I needed someone who could survive, and change everything." Through the link, Ethan felt her desperation, not selfish, but born of belief that this was the only way to survive, to honor her mother's sacrifice. Ethan clenched his fists, rage simmering, but the link carried another image from Veyra, her mother in a Sylthar lab, wristband glowing, eyes fierce. "If you fail," she said, "the galaxy pays." The image faded, leaving Ethan in silence. He wanted to shout, to accuse, but the truth was too big, too heavy, and he knew there was no turning back. Klyne spoke again, voice softer but commanding. "Veyra, this human, he carries what we need to seal the archive. Together you can stop Voss. But time is short." The screen showed radar, a small fleet, Voss's signature, closing on the asteroid belt. Ethan met Veyra's gaze, eyes hard but no longer blind with anger. "If I do this," he said, voice steady, "it's not for your father or you. It's for the ones who died keeping this secret." He touched his temple, where the Pact's silver mark still glowed. "But if you hide anything again, no link will save you." Veyra nodded, a new respect in her eyes. "Understood," she said, turning to the console. "Voss's fleet is close. We need to reach the archive before him." The shuttle surged forward, weaving through spinning rocks, but Ethan's implant buzzed again, displaying another code from Harrow. The code's not just a weapon. It's the key to understanding the Vexar. Ethan froze, realizing he wasn't just fighting for survival, but for a truth that could reshape the galaxy. Through the link, he felt Veyra's resolve, and for the first time, they weren't just bound strangers. They were allies, however fragile. The asteroid belt faded behind them, a jagged maze swallowed by the void, as Veyra piloted the battered shuttle toward Rhydan Voss's fortress, a colossal structure of black alloy orbiting a dead star, its jagged spires gleaming like claws under faint light. Ethan sat in the co-pilot's seat, neural implant humming, analyzing the fortress's defenses, automated turrets, energy shields, and a fleet of sleek drones patrolling like vultures. His pulse pistol rested on his thigh, a cold comfort against the odds. "This is suicide," he said, voice dry, eyes fixed on the radar. "You sure this archive is worth it?" Veyra's hands tightened on the controls, emerald eyes blazing with a fire Ethan hadn't seen before. "It's not just worth it," she said, voice low, fierce. "It's everything. The archive holds Sylthar secrets, tech to end wars, or start them. If Voss gets it, the galaxy burns." Through the mind link, Ethan felt her resolve, a steel core forged by her mother's sacrifice, but also a flicker of fear, not of death, but of failing the one person who believed in her. The link pulsed stronger now, a living bridge between them. Ethan caught flashes of Veyra's memories, a Sylthar temple, her mother's hands tracing runes, whispering, "The archive chooses its keepers." The images faded, but they left a weight in his chest, a sense that this fight was bigger than either of them. His implant buzzed, pulling up Harrow's last message. "The code in your implant, it's tied to the archive. Protect it, Cole." Ethan clenched his jaw, realizing his own secrets were as dangerous as Veyra's. They slipped past the outer defenses, Veyra's piloting a masterclass in precision, dodging drone scans and turret fire. The shuttle docked in a shadowed maintenance bay, its hull scraping against jagged metal. Inside the fortress, the air was cold, heavy with the hum of alien tech. Black walls pulsed with faint runes, like veins of a sleeping beast. Ethan led the way, pistol raised, implant mapping the layout, corridors twisting like a labyrinth, leading to a central chamber. "Stay sharp," he whispered, sensing Veyra's tension through the link. Her energy soared, glowing softly at her side. The chamber was vast, a cathedral of obsidian and steel, its ceiling lost in shadow. At its heart stood a pedestal, a crystalline sphere hovering above it, pulsing with green light, the archive. But before they could move, a cold laugh echoed, and Rhydan Voss stepped from the dark. His silver skin gleamed like liquid metal, red eyes burning, a twisted energy blade in hand. "You're late, Veyra," he said, voice like grinding steel. "And you brought a human pet." Ethan aimed his pistol, implant locking onto Voss's vitals. "Call me a pet again," he said, voice cold, "and I'll carve that smirk off your face." Through the link, he felt Veyra's surge of defiance, mirroring his own. Voss sneered, but his eyes flicked to Veyra's wristband, glowing brighter now, resonating with the archive. "That wristband is mine," he said. "Hand it over, or I'll rip it from your corpse." He raised a hand, and the chamber's runes flared, unleashing a psychic wave that slammed into Ethan and Veyra like a tidal force. Ethan staggered, vision blurring, implant screaming as it fought the assault. Through the link, he felt Veyra's pain, her mind straining to hold on. But the link did more than share pain, it fused them. Ethan sensed Veyra's sword swing before it happened, and she knew his next shot. They moved as one, Ethan firing pulse rounds to distract Voss, Veyra charging with her blade, slicing through his energy shield. Voss roared, countering with a psychic blast, but the link grew stronger, a blazing conduit of will. Ethan caught a vision from Veyra, her mother facing a similar foe, her wristband flaring, merging her mind with another's to survive. "We can do this," Veyra gasped, voice raw, and Ethan nodded, trusting the link, trusting her. The archive sphere pulsed faster, its light flooding the chamber. Ethan's implant surged, decoding its signals, and he realized the truth. The archive wasn't just tech, it was alive, an ancient Sylthar AI, choosing them as its keepers. The link evolved, their minds merging deeper, thoughts and emotions blending until they weren't just Ethan and Veyra, but something new, a unified force, neither human nor Sylthar, but both. They struck together, Ethan's shot shattering Voss's blade, Veyra's sword grazing his chest, forcing him back. Voss stumbled, eyes wide with shock. "What are you?" he snarled, but before he could recover, the chamber shook, alarms blaring. Through the viewport, Ethan saw silver warships, High Priest Klyne's fleet, bombarding the fortress. Voss cursed, vanishing into a hidden passage, leaving the archive behind. Ethan and Veyra collapsed, panting, the link still burning bright. The archive sphere dimmed, its AI voice echoing in their minds. "You are the keepers now. Guard the light." Ethan touched his temple, the silver mark glowing stronger, and looked at Veyra. "Guess we're in this together," he said, voice rough but steady. She nodded, eyes soft for the first time. "No going back," she said, and through the link, he felt a new bond, not just duty, but trust forged in fire. The fortress trembled, its black walls cracking as Klyne's warships pounded it from orbit. Ethan and Veyra sprinted from the chamber, the archive sphere clutched in Veyra's hands, its green light pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan's implant mapped their escape, guiding them through collapsing corridors, sparks raining from shattered runes. The mind link thrummed, their thoughts aligned, his focus, her resolve, making them a single unit. "Keep moving," he shouted, firing a pulse round at a falling beam, clearing their path. They reached a docking bay, the shuttle waiting, but a new figure blocked their way. Lyra, Veyra's younger sister, bronze skin glowing, her own energy sword drawn. Her eyes, violet and fierce, locked onto Veyra. "You should have stayed away," Lyra said, voice sharp but laced with pain. Through the link, Ethan felt Veyra's shock, a tangle of love and betrayal. "Lyra, why?" Veyra asked, voice breaking. "You're with him?" Lyra's gaze hardened. "Father's wrong, but so are you," she said. "The archive can't stay with the Dominion, or Voss. I'm taking it for a new alliance, one that'll break both their chains." She stepped forward, sword raised, but Ethan moved faster, pistol aimed at her chest. "Back off," he growled, implant analyzing her stance, trained, lethal, but hesitating. You're not touching her. Lyra smirked, but her eyes flickered, caught by the silver mark on Ethan's temple, glowing in sync with Veyra's streaks. A human keeper, she murmured, almost awed. Mother was right about you, Veyra. Before anyone could react, the bay shook, and Rhydan Voss reappeared, silver skin scorched but eyes blazing with fury. You thought I'd let you leave? Voss roared, raising a device that sent a psychic pulse through the bay, like knives in their minds. Ethan dropped to a knee, implant fighting to stabilize, but Lyra moved first, her sword clashing with Voss's energy blade, sparks flying. Go! She shouted, voice raw. I'll hold him. Veyra hesitated, eyes locked on her sister, but Ethan grabbed her arm, pulling her to the shuttle. She's buying us time, he said, voice hard. Through the link, he felt Veyra's grief, but also her trust in him. They boarded, Veyra firing up the engines as Ethan manned the rear turret, blasting drones swarming the bay. The shuttle launched, weaving through the fortress's debris, Klyne's warships still hammering from above. As they escaped, High Priest Klyne's voice crackled through the comms, calm but heavy. Veyra, you've done what I couldn't, he said. The archive's safe, but Voss isn't finished. And the Vexar, they're waking. Through the link, Ethan felt Veyra's dread, a shared realization that their fight was far from over. The shuttle docked with Klyne's flagship, a silver behemoth gleaming with Sylthar tech. In the command bay, Klyne stood waiting, his presence commanding but weary. You're more than I expected, human, he said to Ethan, eyes narrowing. The archive chose you both. Now you must protect it. Ethan met his gaze, unflinching. I'm not here for your approval, he said, voice cold. I'm here to keep this galaxy from burning. Through the link, he felt Veyra's pride, a quiet strength binding them closer. Lyra's fate remained unclear, her sacrifice hanging heavy. But as they prepared to leave, Ethan's implant buzzed, decoding a final message from Harrow. The archive's AI isn't just Sylthar. It's tied to the Vexar's origin. Lock it, or they'll rise. Ethan shared the truth with Veyra, and together they sealed the archive's core, their minds merging through the link to complete the task. The sphere dimmed, safe for now. We're not done, Ethan said, voice steady, looking at Veyra. She nodded, hand brushing his, a silent vow. The bay grew quiet, but outside, the universe waited, full of danger and secrets. A month later, Ethan stood on the bridge of a Sylthar cruiser, its sleek silver hull cutting through the void toward Earth. The asteroid belt and Voss's fortress were distant memories, but the weight of the archive lingered, its sphere secured in a vault below. His pilot's coat was gone, replaced by a hybrid uniform, earth leather, Sylthar runes, marking him as something new. Veyra stood beside him, her silk robes flowing, emerald eyes fixed on the stars. The mind link hummed softly, no longer a chain but a bridge, carrying a warmth neither could deny. The cruiser's bridge buzzed with activity, Sylthar crew working alongside human advisors, a fragile alliance born of necessity. High Priest Klyne's words echoed in Ethan's mind. The Vexar are waking. His implant, now fully integrated with the archive's AI, confirmed it. Faint signals from deep space, Vexar in origin, stirring like a beast in slumber. Earth was their next stop, not for rest, but to warn humanity, to prepare. Ethan glanced at Veyra, catching a faint smile. What? He asked, voice softer than he meant. You're not the rogue I met on Galaxy Haven, she said, eyes glinting. You're more? Through the link, he felt her affection, raw and unguarded, and for the first time, he didn't fight it. He stepped closer, hand brushing hers, and in a quiet moment their lips met, a brief, electric promise, sealing their bond beyond the pact. The link flared, sharing a vision, Earth's blue oceans, Sylthar spires rising beside human cities, a future where their unity reshaped the galaxy. But the vision faded, replaced by a colder truth. Voss was still out there, and the Vexar's signals grew stronger. Ethan's implant buzzed, decoding a new message from the archive. The Keepers must face the dark to light the way. We'll face it together, Veyra said, voice steady, reading his thoughts through the link. Ethan nodded, eyes on the stars, where Earth's faint glow emerged. He was no longer just a soldier, nor Veyra a rebel princess. They were keepers, bound by choice, not fate, ready to fight for a galaxy that didn't yet know its saviors. The cruiser hummed, carrying them forward, into a future as vast and uncertain as the void itself.